Oh, it says the meeting is being recorded. Did I ask you for permission?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I guess we're good. So first, we gotta do an introduction section. So basically, project one, what this basically is, it's a voting project, not a voting, a grading calculator project, which you're able to type in scores, or you're able to type in how many students are in the class, and then another GUI is gonna pop up, and that's gonna create the grading calculator with however many students you have. So example, if you put five, it asks for five students on the second, and then once you type in the five scores, um, it tells you what their grades are according to the highest value minus 10. So let's say you have 100 minus 10, that's 90. That would also be an A, and then B would be an 80, like that. You can also convert things to CSV files just in case you need to go like to some other things like Excel or any other ones. And that's basically the main functionality of this project. You want to do yours, Xavier?
Yeah, sure.
I can stop sharing.
Okay. All right. So I did project two. I based this off of the voting lab, which was lab one. And what I added to it was I actually put in real candidates. I got pictures for them, and I create a screen where each candidate has a radio button next to them. So that way you can just click the radio button and then click submit, and it gets recorded into a CSV file. And then what the result screen does is that it actually reads through that CSV file. And by using the match function, it looks for each line that begins with that candidate's name. And each time there is a line that matches, then it adds one to that candidate's vote total. And so that way, the result screen displays the total number of votes that each candidate received, along with the percent of votes that they received, and it compares them to see who the winner was. And I also added a profile for each candidate, so that way the voter can read through what their positions are and what they believe, know what they're voting for. And so, yeah, now I think we're ready for Eric to demonstrate how his project works.
Right. Let me just share this real quick. All right. So now we're looking at my project, right? So let's just see how the app works. Um, so basically, we're using the NVC style. So we have this main function, which basically starts off the app, and then we have these two GUIs or UIs, which are basically in charge of actually displaying the things and making it look nice. And then we have the logic here, which as you can see, it has the submit and then print scores. So basically, it goes through the logic right here. It grabs a list and then it creates a list actually, and then it has some exception handling as well. Right here, this method returns the letter grades, which is used in some areas of the code. The average code, average score is also used in other areas, and then clear button, and then the convert to CSV file, and then we have the edit, which you'll see what it does in a bit. And then here's logic one, which is the logic for the first window, which I probably should have shown first, but here it is. So we have the open window, which just basically opens the second window, and then we have the submit, which is the submit. It's in charge of doing the logic behind the submit button on the first window. So first, um, let's see this. So the way the app works is you have to type in a number. As for invalid input, let's just say you type in a letter. It's not gonna like it. It's gonna ask for an integer value. So you gotta type, I don't know, let's say 3. And now it opens the second window and hides the first one. Um, Now it says number of students 3. Here's the edit button, which you can use to edit. If you type in See, it says integer value. So let's do 3 again. There you go. You can edit, or for better, so you can see it better, let's do 4. Okay. So now it's 4. You've seen the edit buttons. That's one of the feedbacks you mentioned on our meeting. So I went ahead and added that. So as you can see, it works pretty well. Right here, when you're entering grades, you have to type them in just how we did on the lab. And for valid, invalid input, let's say you didn't type in enough numbers. So here's 4, and then it's gonna say, please enter exactly 4 code 4. If it has letters or something that is not the correct input, it's gonna ask you, and it's gonna give you an example of how to do it. So let's just go ahead and do 80 for the sake of it. Once you click submit, it tells you all the scores right here with the letter grade as well as the average score here in the bottom. If you click clear, it clears everything out and it sets it back to normal so that you can type in different numbers. Let's say 100. And then it works again like this. So it changes everything. The convert to CSV, if you click on it, it converts these values into a CSV file, which will pop up on your actual local folder that you're in right now. And in order for that to happen, you have to close the window. So as you can see, here it is, student score, and then it tells you all the scores that we typed in. And that's always gonna be in writing mode. So I believe it should always restart. So let's go ahead and try it again. Let's do 3, 60, 70, 80. Submit and then convert. So yeah, it's in writing mode. So every time you do convert, it writes it to the same one. And that's basically it for this project. Do you have anything else to mention, Xavier? I think
No,
that's
I
it.
think you covered everything.
All right, so now we're going for you to present your part of the project, and I'll stop sharing.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
All right, got it. Okay, so this is just my main logic file that takes in the class from that I made in main logic and displays the main window, or I'm sorry, the main menu for the voting app. Here in my main logic file, uh, I wrote the code to set up the GUI for the main menu, and then I added functionality to the buttons here. So like this button is going to call the open vote window function, and that one calls a different function. And these functions are all created down here. So what the open vote window does is it hides the main menu, and then it displays the vote window by calling vote logic, which is in a different file. It actually passes it as an object so that it doesn't start creating duplicates, just hiding it and then creating the same screen over and over again. Because that was causing the app to crash. And that's actually the question I came to you with last week, I think, or on Monday. And open candidate window and open results window, they do the same thing. They just open a different screen. And so here in my vote logic, I have the logic which sets up the GUI here and gives functionality to the home button and the submit button. They call these functions here. So yeah, the vote home button, it just brings you back to the main menu. It hides the voting window, shows the main window. And the submit button, what it does is it checks to see which radio button has been checked. And whichever one was checked, it writes that person's name to the CSV file, which we'll see in a minute. Results logic, again, sets up the GUI for the results screen. And sorry, I have to scroll down. Here we go. All right. Also, what's important to mention is that each time you click the home button on the results screen, it clears out the CSV file. That's what this line does here. because it opens it as with the W, which means write. And so that means it just creates a whole new file. So this hides the screen, that shows the main menu. And what this function display results does here is it reads through the CSV, and like I said earlier, it adds one to each candidate by using the matching function. So if the line matches that candidate's name, then it adds one to their vote total, and it displays the total number of votes each one got and the percentage that each one got, which is what this if else branch does here. And a problem that we had earlier was the result screen would crash if you click on it before you actually voted for anybody. And Eric actually realized that's because I was dividing by 0, because here you see all votes is equal to the sum of all the candidates' votes. Well, if it's 0 and then I'm dividing by 0 here, that's going to be an error. So I just use an if-else branch to fix that. And then here, this is the code that compares the amount of votes that each candidate got and determines who the winner is. And if they're tied, that's what this else branch does here. It just says tie, we need another round. So my candidates logic, all this does is display the buttons that take you to each profile. And so the buttons here, they're all given functionality. And the Victor screen function is going to take you over to the Victor screen by hiding the candidate window and then taking you over to the Victor screen. So what I did here is I just treated candidate screen the same way that I treated the main menu. And so that way on each of the candidate profiles, when you click the candidates button, instead of taking you back to the main menu, it's going to take you back to the candidate screen, and then you can get home from there. And I think that's better anyways, because if you want to read through all of the candidates, you probably don't want to go back home. They have to go back into candidates each time. And so Victor logic, there's not much to go over here. This is just all of his information, his beliefs, and his positions are displayed. And then there's a home button. And then it's that way for all the profiles. And so yeah, there's the logic for Don. Here's the logic for Nigel. It's the same way. And so now we are ready for me to actually show how the app works. All right, so it starts off with the main menu. And if we go straight to results, we'll see all of them have 0 and that it's a time we need another round. So I'll go back home. Before I vote for anybody, I want to look at who the candidates are and see what they believe. All right, so I'll start with Victor Emmanuel II. Okay, he's a monarchist, wants to turn America into a monarchy. He's going to be king. All right, now Don Bayer, let's see what he believes. Okay, more standard American politician. All right, let's go back and we'll see what this third guy, Nigel Johnson, is all about. Okay, he's kind of crazy. He wants to tear everything down. No more government. We don't know who he is. All right, let's see who I want to vote for. Uh, tough choice. I'm gonna go with Victor. All right, we'll see. And here you see Victor's vote was recorded. He has 1 vote. Everyone else has 0. So it says here that he's the winner. But I probably want to have multiple votes in there. And so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
one
vote for
thing I
each
forgot to
person.
mention,
What's that, Eric?
on the home button, when you press it, it clears out the CSV file to store it. So like once you click results and you click home, it just clears out everything.
Yes, yes. I meant to mention that earlier. I'm sorry if I forgot. But when you go to results, that's the end of that voting round. Because when you go back home, then everything gets cleared out. Because of what I said earlier about the CSV file being opened with the writing method. So like here, you see he has 1 vote, but I go home and I go back into it and there's no votes because it's been cleared out. Okay, so anyway, back to doing what I was before. I'm gonna give each person one vote, and then it should say that there was a tie, right? And yep, there was a tie. Each person has one vote, and you can see what percent of the votes they got here. And then it says tie. We need another round. All right, so I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna vote again. We'll go down the line here. All right, let's go to the results. And here it says Nigel is the winner because he got 2 votes, everyone else got one, which is correct. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. I guess we can go over the conclusion now. So you want to stop sharing
Yeah.
so we can have our face. So what are new concepts that we learned during this project development? So I guess for me and Xavier as well, I mean, I'll speak for both of us. One of the major ones that we learned is how to be able to like display, not display, but have multiple screens and have functionalities on all of them. I know you asked the professor, so can you probably explain a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so the way that we were doing it before is that we were just calling that other screen and then just saying show, right? And that worked for you because you only had 2 screens, but for me, I have 7 screens, and that was causing the app to crash because it's just too much. But the way that we fix that is that we use the self.hide function to hide the current screen that we're on, then show the new screen. But then another thing that we did was that we actually passed that screen as an object, because otherwise, what we would be doing when we call that class to show the screen in the first place is that we'd be creating a new screen each time. Whereas if we are passing it as an object, we can just hide that screen and have it show up later when we want to. Because the way we were doing it before was causing the app to crash. It wasn't really able to withstand all of that.
And yeah, that's probably like the major one that we learned. And I mean, I'm guessing probably the only one in my case. For challenges that we encounter and how we address them, I mean, we just said it. It was basically we encountered that problem with not being able to display multiple not multiple screens, but display screens like you display the first one, then the second one, then the third one, and then being able to flip back and forth with them. And I mean, Xavier asked you how to do it, and then he showed me how to do it. So that's the way we addressed that problem. We tried like doing research on it, but we couldn't come up with there wasn't anything on the internet that was able to help us figure that out. So we went with
Yeah,
it.
one thing I did learn about was stacked widgets. I think that would have worked for us, but the problem was that I'd already created all of the GUIs we both had. And so having to make them all a stacked widget, we basically would have had to start over. There's no way to copy everything.
Yep. Um, Concepts from the development process to help you understand or appreciate. Um, like for me, I think some concept of the development process, I think it's just how well you're able to work with people if you're like actually working with them. And if you have a good Git like GitHub, it's and you know how to use it. That's one of the really parts that I appreciate being then and knowing how like you're able to work with multiple people and still get the job done and not just be like all over the place.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Being able to share your code with other people and have them edit it and then push it back to you so that you can implement what they changed was very helpful for this project. And yeah, just learning how to write code that other people are working on, it was a good experience.
And I think that's it.
Don't we have to say what our contributions were?
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, okay. So Xavier here, he worked on project two, and that's basically what he did. And I also helped him with the logic a little bit, but it was mostly like the hard work was probably on his part. The logic, I helped them out, but it was pretty. I mean, it wasn't too difficult, but yeah.
Yeah, so Eric did all of project one, and then on project two, he wrote the logic for the CSV file.
I also want to mention you also helped me in some occasions, like with Project One. Like for example, giving me telling me about what Mr. Ressman told you about being able to do the multiple screens. So that's one thing I decided to change in my project. And he also did help me with like a little bit of the logic at the very beginning. I don't know if you remember, but you did.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
All right, I think we're good.
Okay, so